Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're talking about SLV, silver. Now there's a lot of hype and talk going about this stock. Is the next GameStop? It's the next big short squeeze? Why is Reddit targeting it? And is this overall a mistake? I'm going to get right into why I'm not exactly comfortable with this stock and why I'm not touching it. I'm not saying I'm bearish. The technicals do look very, very bullish. But if we take a step back and look at the fundamentals, they tell a different story. But before we get into that content, I need you to do one thing and one thing only. Hit that sub button down below, leave a thumbs up, and make sure you have my notifications turned on because I'm posting videos every single day about the stocks that I'm trading, the long-term picks, and the trades that you guys are recommending to me. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. Okay, so when talking about silver, there's a few things we need to cover because this is not GameStop. First thing to note, the fundamentals do not work the same way at all. Second, the market caps are vastly different. Silver has a massive market cap, so we're actually gonna get into that first. Okay, so as you can see here on the left-hand side right here, as I'm scrolling, you can see the market cap right there, the 16.144 billion. That is GameStop's actual market cap right now. Now, if we take a look at silver's market cap, it's sitting at 1.586 trillion. Yes, trillion. Around 10 times the market cap of GameStop. It's going to take a lot more than Reddit investors to getting into the stock to really make a dent. Yes, we're seeing a lot of movement, but that leads me to the next subject. I want to get into exactly the overall volume that we're seeing here. As you look on Yahoo Finance, you can go check this out for yourself. So we're looking at the average volume. So we scroll down to about the beginning of December, we see at this level here, this is where we're going to start, about 18 million, right? And as we move up, you see we have a 31 million here, 45, 39, kind of trending up. We have 100 million on January 7th, and then we kind of start trending back down, like 20 million range. And then on the 28th, we see that volume really spike back up to 152 million. And now today we're sitting at 254. It actually doubled from Friday. That's one very interesting thing. The average volume on this stock for the last year is around 30 million. So I should tell you that's about 8x times the average moving volume. So yes, we're seeing a large influx. Silver has only moved up about 10%, which kind of proves that maybe this could work. Maybe we could continue going up. Are we going to hit $100? There's honestly a 0% chance that we hit $100, so don't get that in your mind. This article right here really had me questioning and looking at the fundamentals behind the overall move behind silver and why there isn't a 40% upside compared to something like GameStop. We're going to skip the stuff about GameStop and going over that. This is what we're going to read. The reason a squeeze on iShares Silver Trust won't work is that the structure is fundamentally different from a regular stock. Technically, the silver investment vehicle isn't an exchange-traded fund, as it doesn't comply with some of the security laws that govern ETFs. However, in one respect, it shares an important attribute that ETFs have, the ability to create and redeem shares at will. This part had me a little bit confused, but then it came back to arbitrage, and that really is where it ties together. So really where it keeps that market to where it can't soar and it can't overall drop at a major rate. It kind of keeps it stable. Specifically, the terms of iShares Silver allow authorized participants to issue and redeem large blocks of shares known as baskets. To create a basket of 50,000 shares, an authorized participant merely has to deliver the appropriate amount of silver, currently about 46,000 ounces. Similarly, an authorized participant can deliver 50,000 shares to a trust and demand to receive the same corresponding amount of silver bullion in exchange. So basically what happens, let's say the stock really starts to skyrocket and there's short sellers on this stock. Very easy for them to cover their shorts based on arbitrage. Now, that's why shares of silver and gold typically move pretty slowly. You're not seeing them move 2 to 3% a day, even on a very bullish day. Typically, they don't move that quickly. That's a very slow moving commodity and things like that. So when it starts to move rapidly, this is how they keep it at a relative stable price. You know, it doesn't start moving huge amounts. 10% is a wild move that we're seeing. It allows them to create arbitrage and bring it very easy for them to cover their shorts based on arbitrage. Now, that's why shares of silver and gold typically move pretty slowly. You're not seeing them move 2 to 3% a day, even on a very bullish day. Typically, they don't move that quickly. That's a very slow moving commodity and things like that. So when it starts to move rapidly, this is how they keep it at a relative stable price. You know, it doesn't start moving huge amounts. 10% is a wild move that we're seeing. It allows them to create arbitrage and basically go and buy silver, bring it back in, and then sell the silver for a higher price, helping them maintain their overall losses and gains. So they're not losing too much money there. Like with GameStop, they had to start purchasing the stock to overall cover those calls. It's a completely different game. If you need more information on this, just do a little bit more due diligence. It's pretty easy to understand once you really spend the time doing it, but I don't want to spend the whole video focusing on that. Very bottom, authorized participants can make a risk-free arbitrage profit by purchasing silver bullion on the market open and delivering it to the trust in exchange for shares. It could then sell those shares at a higher price, which will be more than it paid for the silver bullion. So that's exactly what I said just a second ago, but you can read more about this and do a little bit more studying. This is why it has me scared on really dumping money here, because I don't think it's the same thing as GameStop. I think it's a little too hyped up, and I don't think people really understand the fundamentals behind commodities, especially gold and silver. So here's my final reason. We just beat GameStop, right? If you're Wall Street bets, you just annihilated GameStop. You just killed Citadel, Melvin Capital, and all these other hedge funds. You killed them, you won. But now you're coming back in for second takes, and you know what? It's very possible on Wall Street Bets Reddit that Citadel could have manipulated and made these posts. It's very difficult to realize and understand that you can't really short squeeze silver like something you can with GameStop. And no one's really taking the time to look at the market cap and stuff like this. So one thing to know, Citadel actually owns 6 million shares, as we see right here, of Silver's Trust. That's pretty big. They bought this back in September 30th, so it was obviously a little bit down, but it's making a pretty big gain. And they also own multiple other silver shares and ETFs, so that's worth noting, but this is their largest percent. One thing we need to be looking at is the actual volume in silver. This is the promising part. On the short-term side of things, options and plays like that with leverage and, really opening yourself up to leverage and things like that can really prove to be profitable here. That's the thing on the very short-term scale of things. Now, staying into it long-term is a completely different game. I'm not doing that whatsoever, so you have to know that. Inflows into the Silver iShares Trust surged by a record 944 million on Friday as trading in the ETF soared. Obviously, it soared even further because we doubled that on the actual volume come Monday. So Tyler, are you bearish on silver? No, I'm not bearish. Looking at the chart, we're about to get that in a second, so bear with me. I'm not bearish. If I'm trading this on the very short-term scale of things, that's the first thing I need to look at. I'm trading this very short-term, maybe 1-2 days. I'm not being greedy with profits. I'm not holding the line if you're Wall Street Bets. I'm not one of those guys here. Looking at it, I think there is some money to be made. But looking at the market and the value that we can play in these other stocks and the value buys that we have and the actual overbought of some of these stocks right now, such as clean energy, there's a lot of plays that look like they have some downside. I think there's better plays in the options market right now. I think there's some great opportunities to be made. Today we just traded Lululemon and we actually made a pretty fat stack just from that trade. That's in the Discord, but that's besides the point. There's other trades that are available and there's some really low valued stocks right now, especially with the dip that we got on these indexes from the end of last week. So I'm not going to be betting my money on something like silver because ultimately right now I think it's a really far-fetched bet. But it's also worth noting I'm not putting puts on this. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just not touching it. I think the risk levels are just too high for me and I don't really see that great of an upside like something with GameStop, AMC, Nokia, Naked Brands, stuff like that. Those have really high upside and kind of lower risk. Silver, it looks like you get just stuck in your positions and potentially just lose money. And the upside isn't nearly as large as some of these other plays. Whereas with options right now, there's some really great plays. But let's actually look at the chart and I'll show you the actual bullish side of things. It does look pretty good. All right, so looking at the chart, this is where Citadel actually made their purchases around that time frame, around the 13th, 16th range. And now we're sitting at $27 up here. So about 22 buy-in, give or take. We'll be kind of generous with that buy-in. And it's at 27 now. It's a pretty nice move with silver. You don't really see, like I said, massive moves here, but that's overall 20% run in the past few months. So that's a solid trade by them. And this is the daily time frame, so that's a very important thing to notice. And we're holding above this level right here, that 27 range, which is going to be pretty important, holding that overall resistance and support. So let's go a little bit closer to about the 15 minutes to actually look at the intraday chart. This will tell us a lot. So looking here, this is what has me overall pretty bullish. We're getting somewhat of a flag, one, right? So we're getting that flag. And we're actually breaking back above it here, but we're sitting below the VWAP. If we can get a move above the VWAP and then a retouch, I think there's plenty of room for us to run at least that $28 range on the short-term time scale. Now, I think there's room to go past that. I do think volume could kick in. But like I said with the arbitrage, that could really be what slows this down and brings it back down in the next few days. But as we're looking here, the thing to focus on, I think that would take a little bit of time. That wouldn't happen the next day or maybe 2 days from now. I think that would be like next week, give or take. So that's why I say there is room to go up right now. If we start moving up, I think we hit that resistance out here, like the $27, $28 range, come a little bit down and get it moved back up. Where I'm looking to buy, if I'm going to be trading this, there is a possibility, is right here. If we come back and retest that 27.8 range and then start making our move back up, there will be some price discovery, and I think we have a possibility to maybe move to the $30, $31 range. So that's what I would be looking for on this chart. Now, the volume is kicking in as well. Looking at the OBV, you do see we're getting a little bit of resistance at this level. I think we can definitely push above it. The volume's really kicking in, but the on balance volume is actually going down a little bit. So that's a kind of confusing and worrisome based on this chart. That's what I don't like here and has me a little bit worried. I want to see us get back above this as well. If we do get above this, if we do get above the OBV level and this resistance that I have marked, there's a high potential chance we do run to that $31, $32 range up here that I have mentioned. But we want to see a move above and a retest and pushing. It's also possible that we in fact don't get a retest and we just get parabolic like we usually do with these OBVs. Like right here, we saw a clear parabolic move to the upside. And once we had that parabolic move, you saw a clear trend from the $23, $24 range all the way up to the $25, $26 range. A pretty nice move right there. So that's something to be looking forward to. But overall, looking at the chart, what I'm looking forward to is getting a move above the VWAP 1 and then seeing how we react to this level right here, the $27, $28 range. In my opinion, I don't think we break above it on the first try. If we're going to break above it, it's going to be on the second, maybe even third try. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how we move. It's also worth noting silver will trade on the after hours as well. So I'd be watching that pretty extensively to see how we react to that level and the kind of movement and volume we're getting on the after hours from other countries as well. In conclusion, I'm feeling relatively good about silver. I really didn't want to look at the chart because I knew the more I look at the chart, the better I would feel. Because on the technical side of things, silver looks phenomenal. It looks like a bread and butter play of ours. It looks like something that we want to play. And it looks like something that wants to go up and find some new highs on the local level to that $31, $32 range. But I'm playing it very, very conservatively. As long as we get above the monthly open, I would feel better about the overall value of this trade. On the short term, I don't want to play it until that $27, $28 range at least gets tested. If we get above it, at that point, it will be an entry for me and a potential to play it to the 31, 31.5 range where I would ultimately get out and I wouldn't even touch it any further. I don't see us going to $40, $50. I wouldn't focus on that. That's going to wrap up this video, guys. If you get something out of this, make sure you hit that sub button down below, leave a thumbs up, and turn the notifications on because I post videos every single day about the stocks that I trade and the overall long-term picks as well. And you can leave a request down below, and I might make a video tomorrow regarding that stock. Have a good one, guys. Namaste.